Well, 60 years ago, Dennis Bennett stood in the pulpit of his church in Van Nuys, California. What he said next shocked the congregation. It was so stunning, it made headlines in the past pages of Time, Newsweek, and more. Dennis, an Episcopal priest, announced that he had been baptized in the Holy Spirit. And while that wound up costing him his job, he never looked back.
Dennis Bennett was known for ushering in the charismatic movement in the Episcopal Church and beyond. His wife Rita was known for her international inner healing ministry, Emotionally Free. Her book, You Can Be Emotionally Free, has sold over 100,000 copies. After their deaths, the torch of their ministry was handed to Diana Ingle, now the president and CEO of CRA Restore. And she's gifting the complete Rita Bennett Collection of over 2,400 items to Regent University.
Well, Diana Ingle is here with us now, and we welcome you. It's so nice to have you on the 700 Club today. Will you talk a little bit about Dennis's announcement and his encounter with the Holy Spirit and why it was so groundbreaking?
I think because it was a mainline church, it was very unusual at that time to have experienced the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And supposedly Dennis had a hunger for that experience in the book of Acts and prayed for that and experienced that himself.
Well, and many people weren't even acknowledging that it was still possible to have that kind of an experience, right?
That's right, and he suffered for that in his church because they didn't really accept it.
And he never looked back. He moved on. God used him in a different way, which is not unusual. God does that with lots of us. But will you also talk about Rita? Because was he married to Rita at the time that this happened? He was not, right?
No, he had a wife previously who passed away from cancer and a family.
So when he met Rita, she had her own ministry.
She did. She was already teaching about the charismatic renewal and the gifts of the Holy Spirit herself when they met. In fact, I think they met through her brother, William Standish Reed, whose archives are here at Regent as well.
Now, this would have been in what many of us call the Jesus movement.
Yes.
Things were so different in the country then. I mean, people were coming to Christ left and right and having life-changing experiences. You met Rita in 2007, years later. What was that meeting like for you?
Well, it was quite a surprise because some lovely ladies, her friends, took me there to meet her, and I didn't actually know who she was. So I found myself in her home.
Sometimes that's best.
And I started realising that a little bit as they talked who they were, and I had been praying and asking God if he wanted me to run a healing ministry and to teach. And I'd been praying if he had a course that was already prepared, could he show me so that I could use that? So while I was at Rita's house, she said, the Lord's told me to give you something. And she went away and got her manual and just put it in my hands, and she didn't even know I'd been praying that.
Wow.
So it was amazing because in that moment I just felt the Holy Spirit say to me, your life just changed.
And your life did change?
Yes.
How?
Well, surprising to all of her team, Rita gave me permission straight away to come and do her course and then to take the course back to New Zealand. So New Zealand was the first country to have a branch of Christian Renewal Association.
Wow. And you went back and forth. I mean, that trip from the United States to New Zealand is not a brief one. So God used you then, and then God brought you into an even deeper role in Rita's life. How did that happen, and how did it change you?
Well, Rita and I worked very closely together because on her first course, her PA had pulled out, so I became her PA. So I stayed with her, drove her, and a beautiful thing the Lord did was he prompted me to bring her tea on a tray every afternoon at 3 o'clock. And it turned out that that's what Dennis used to do. So about the third day I did it, she started crying and she said, you don't realise what you're doing, do you? And she told me the story, and I realised the Lord had prompted me to do that as a very personal act of love to her.
Yeah,
from him.
God is so tender in how he meets our needs and lets us know he's watching us, cares about us, taking care of us. Rita passed away last year. You've been named her successor. So talk a little bit about CRA Restore and the vision for that.
Yes, so I came over last year and was appointed in April, and Rita died in May, so I actually was with her when she passed away, very peaceful. It was a very beautiful privilege to be with her. And CRA, we renamed it CRA Restore, because we felt some rebranding was needed. And our focus is to train trainers now so that more people can experience inner healing. So my vision is to train churches and other ministries in how to do this ministry and have their own teams and their own teaching teams so that we can multiply the work.
So, Diana, are churches open to this today? I'm looking at the movement back in the 70s when all of this was so rich in what was happening in the country. What's it like today?
Well, some churches are particularly open still because of the charismatic renewal element in those mainstream churches. So in New Zealand, we have a lot of Catholics involved in our ministry. Here, a lot of Episcopalians. Yes. I've just spent 3 weeks ministering in the Anglican Diocese of the Rift Valley in Tanzania with the bishop there who wanted to train all his staff and leaders. So I think we trained 550 people, so it was really incredible. So lots of signs and wonders and miracles.
Isn't that's amazing and wonderful? And how about America?
And America, we're starting off again slowly because the work had petered out a little bit as Rita aged. So we had a course last year, and then we're arranging some courses for early next year. We've been editing our resources this year.
Speaking of resources, you've donated the Rita Bennett Collection to Regent University. What's in that collection and why did you choose Regent?
Well, I chose Regent because Dennis Bennett's archives are here and Rita's brother's archives are here. So it's a special place already. And Rita was here for that, so she loved that they were here. And that was her wish. And so Rita and Dennis had never moved house, so we had 50 years of archives. Cassettes, they had a cassette ministry, cassettes, video teachings, her film reels from TBN when she was a host for 10 years, all their books, all the different editions of their books in different languages, 50 years of correspondence. Wow. so a lot of stuff.
Quite an addition to Regent University.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, may the Lord bless your work and continue as you share the Holy Spirit and the power available to us with people. We want you to know you can learn more about that special Rita Bennett collection at Regent's Library. Go to cbn.com and there will be more information for you there. Thank you so much. Great to have you with us today, Diana.